In the annals of counter-terrorism, few stories carry the weight, the complexity, and the sheer audacity of what unfolded over 7 days in the summer of 1976. It is a story that begins in the serene skies above the Mediterranean and ends in a lightning strike on a Ugandan airfield, a story where the fates of ordinary passengers became the focal point of a global standoff. This is the full, uninterrupted story of the Entebbe hijacking and Operation Thunderbolt, a mission that would rewrite the rules of engagement. Our story commences on Sunday, June 27th. The sun is high over the Aegean Sea. Aboard Air France Flight 139, an Airbus A300, a sense of holiday ease lingers among the 248 passengers. They have just departed Athens, a stopover on a journey that began in Tel Aviv and was meant to end in Paris. For the first hour, it is a routine flight. Then, at precisely 12:30 p.m., the ordinary world fractures. A man and a woman rise from their seats. They are not nervous flyers. In their hands are concealed pistols, now revealed. Their names, Wilfried Böse and Brigitte Kuhlmann, members of the West German militant group, the Red Army faction. Their commands are sharp, terrifying. Stay seated, do not move. As panic begins to ripple through the cabin, two more figures emerge from the rear, Jael al-Arjam and Fayez Abdul Rahim Jabr of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. This was a new, unholy alliance. European revolutionaries and Palestinian militants, united in a single desperate gambit. The co-pilot, hearing the commotion, makes a fatal error. He opens the cockpit door to investigate. In a flash, Wilfried Böse is inside, a pistol pressed against the pilot's temple. Böse, who oddly enough held a pilot's license himself, delivers his new coordinates. You will not go to Paris. You will turn this plane toward North Africa. You will fly to Benghazi, Libya. The great metal bird, a symbol of European connectivity, is now a prisoner in the sky, redirected to the domain of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, a known sponsor of such causes. For 2 hours, Flight 139 flies under the gun. At 2:50 p.m., its wheels touch down on the tarmac of Benghazi Airport. The passengers wait, breath held, hoping this is where the nightmare ends. It is not. They are not allowed to disembark. The plane sits, a sealed capsule of fear, for 7 agonizing hours as it is refueled. Only one person is released, a pregnant woman showing signs of distress. Her evacuation is a small mercy in a growing ocean of dread. At 10:00 p.m., the engines roar back to life. The plane takes off once more, but this time the compass tells a more terrifying story. It is not pointing north back toward Europe. It is pointing south into the deep, dark heart of Africa. Aboard, the hijackers work to control the narrative. Böse and Kuhlmann introduce themselves to the hostages with a perverse flair as Mr. and Mrs. Hijacker. They announce the operation's code name, Haifa 1. For over 20 hours, the Airbus drones over the endless Sahara, then the scrublands of Central Africa. Exhaustion blends with terror. Finally, at 3:15 p.m. on Monday, June 28th, the plane descends. Out the windows, the passengers see an expanse of blue water, Lake Victoria, and then a runway. The sign on the terminal building delivers the final, shocking piece of the puzzle, Entebbe. They are in Uganda, under the rule of the mercurial and brutal Field Marshal Idi Amin. As they disembark, they see lines of Ugandan soldiers. A flicker of hope. Perhaps this is a rescue? The hope dies instantly. The soldiers do not liberate them, they corral them. The hijackers and the Ugandan army are not adversaries, they are partners. The passengers are marched into the old, disused terminal building at Entebbe Airport. It is here, in this dilapidated hall, that the true nature of the crisis crystallizes. The hijackers, now with the full logistical support of a sovereign state, make their first global communication. Their demands are uncompromising: $5 million in cash and the release of 53 Palestinian and pro-Palestinian militants imprisoned in Israel and 4 other countries. The deadline, Tuesday, July 1st. If their demands are not met, they will begin executing hostages, 1 every hour, until their terms are fulfilled. The message is chilling in its clarity, but a more immediate, visceral selection has already begun. The non-Jewish passengers are separated from the Jewish ones. In a grotesque gesture, over the next 2 days, the hijackers and Amin release 148 non-Israeli hostages who are flown to safety. Left behind in the old terminal are 105 Jews and Israelis and the 12-member Air France crew, who, in an act of incredible courage, refused to abandon their passengers. The world now watches, gripped. In Tel Aviv, Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin's cabinet is paralyzed by the ghost of Munich. Just 4 years earlier, a bungled German rescue attempt at the Olympic Games ended with all Israeli hostages dead. The trauma is fresh. The military options seem impossible. A daring raid over 2,200 miles into the heart of a hostile country with a precise deadline looming. Diplomacy whirls. Calls are made to Washington, to Paris, to Cairo. Yasser Arafat, the PLO leader, is enlisted as a mediator, partly due to his personal friendship with Idi Amin, for whom he had once officiated a wedding. Amin himself plays to the cameras, arriving at Entebbe each day with fanfare, portraying himself as the benevolent mediator, the only man who can solve this crisis. It is a charade. In reality, he provides the hijackers with reinforcements, supplies, and a safe base of operations. The old terminal becomes a fortified prison. But in Israel, while publicly pursuing negotiations, a secret plan is taking shape. It is born not from confidence, but from a grim determination that surrender is not an option. A team of Sayeret Matkal commandos, Israel's most elite unit, begins to plan for the impossible. Their leader is a 30-year-old lieutenant colonel named Yonatan Yoni Netanyahu. The intelligence challenge is immense. How do you attack a building you've never seen in a country you cannot enter? The Mossad works miracles. Released hostages are debriefed, providing intimate details of the terminal's layout, the guards' routines, the hijackers' personalities. An Israeli engineer who helped design Entebbe's runway years earlier miraculously finds the original architectural blueprints in his basement. A daring Mossad operative flies a small plane near Entebbe, risking Ugandan anti-aircraft fire to take fresh photographs. Meanwhile, the military planners face a logistical nightmare. The flight to Uganda would require mid-air refueling over hostile territory. The answer comes in a secret, desperate pact with Kenya, which agrees to let the Israeli planes refuel in Nairobi on their return journey. The plan is audacious. It hinges on total surprise and a breathtaking act of deception. Instead of parachuting in, the commandos would land giant C-130 Hercules transport planes right on Entebbe's runway at night. To confuse the Ugandan sentries in the critical first moments, they would bring a black Mercedes limousine and 2 Land Rovers, identical to Idi Amin's own motorcade. The hope was that for a few precious seconds, the guards would see the convoy and think their unpredictable president was paying a late-night visit. Saturday, July 3rd. The deadline for executions has passed, but a final ultimatum hangs in the air. All hostages will be killed on Sunday, July 4th. In Israel, the cabinet gives its final agonizing approval. Operation Thunderbolt is a go. That afternoon, 4 C-130s take off from Sharm el-Sheikh, packed with commandos, medics, and the strange centerpiece of their ruse, the black Mercedes. They fly for 7 hours, much of the journey just 100 feet above the Red Sea and the African desert, to avoid radar, the pilots navigating by the stars. At 11:01 p.m. on July 3rd, the lead Hercules, with Yoni Netanyahu aboard, touches down at Entebbe Airport. The massive transport plane, designed for rugged fields, rolls smoothly down the lit runway. The rear ramp drops. The black Mercedes and its escort roar out, followed by squads of commandos in jeeps. The deception works perfectly for the first checkpoint. The 2 Ugandan guards salute the passing presidential convoy. They are neutralized silently, but at the second checkpoint, the illusion shatters. A guard shines a light, realizes the fraud, and raises his rifle. A shot rings out. The element of surprise is gone. What follows is a storm of controlled violence. The commandos, operating on their memorized blueprints, assault the old terminal from 2 sides. Their primary fear, that the hijackers would have time to murder the hostages. As they breach the walls, a voice shouts in Hebrew through a megaphone, "Stay down! We are Israeli soldiers. We've come to take you home." For the hostages, huddled on the floor, these words are both salvation and a trigger for chaos. In the dark, smoky confusion, 3 hostages are tragically caught in the crossfire. Inside, the firefight is swift and brutal. Wilfred Bossa and Brigitte Kuhlmann are killed at the entrance to the main hall. The 2 Palestinian hijackers are killed near the hostages. The entire ground assault lasts only 3 minutes. Outside, a separate team of commandos attacks the control tower and a barracks, while another plants explosives on Uganda's squadron of MiG fighter jets, destroying them to prevent pursuit. But the cost is high. At the moment of victory, outside the terminal, Lieutenant Colonel Yonatan Netanyahu is struck by a sniper's bullet fired from the control tower. He is mortally wounded. As the hostages, weeping and disbelieving, are rushed across the tarmac to the waiting Hercules planes, Yoni Netanyahu is carried aboard. The commandos load the dead and the wounded. At 11:52 p.m., just 53 minutes after landing, the last Israeli plane lifts off from Entebbe, leaving behind a scene of smoke, fire, and stunned confusion. The flight to Nairobi is tense, the commandos treating their wounded leader, but it is too late. Yonatan Netanyahu dies aboard the plane, cradled by his men. In Kenya, they refuel in silence, the weight of their success mingled with profound loss. When the planes finally land back in Israel on the morning of July 4th, a nation erupts in a catharsis of pride and grief. 102 hostages were rescued, but the price was 4. The 3 hostages killed in the crossfire and the mission's leader, Yoni.